Hey luisteraar, Sebas hier en voordat we met de show beginnen wil ik graag je aandacht vragen voor ons e-mailadres. hallo@nerderlingen.nl. We willen heel graag weten waar je lekker mee aan het nerden bent, of aan het ondernemen bent, of aan het ondernerden. Of misschien ken je iets of iemand wat we absoluut moeten vertellen of bespreken of laten zien in de volgende aflevering van de Nerderlingen. Je kunt ons dus e-mailen op hallo@nerderlingen.nl of twitter het aan ons @Nerderlingen. Natuurlijk is je mening over de show ook van harte welkom. We horen graag van je en dankjewel. En dan nu de aflevering.
Okay.
My name is Sebas.
And my name is Mendel.
And I'm Nick Stevens.
And together we are
The Nerderlingen.
Nerderlingen. And this is a special edition brought to you in Donglish. At least from my point of view.
Dat gaat wel gebeuren.
Oh yeah.
So hello.
Hello. Good
Hi.
afternoon. Welcome.
Afternoon?
It
Technically is still afternoon, I guess before 6.
This was very depressing. I have Flux on my computer, and yesterday I was working behind my computer, and then around 3:50ish, Flux said the sun has gone down.
Yeah.
So this is the first English version of our podcast, because today we have Nick Stevens as our guest. Welcome.
Thanks.
And, I guess it's a bit of a Christmas special,
It is.
kind of.
Yes.
So we'll see how it goes.
Do you guys celebrate Christmas?
Yes, but not here in the Netherlands.
Oh.
Yes.
And is that a tradition to not celebrate Christmas in the Netherlands?
But it's kind of because of my in-laws.
Oh,
so,
yeah. You really want to escape your in-laws during Christmas?
No,
he's
actually,
going to them.
I go to it. Yeah, because
I know this.
free food, man.
Furman Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, who doesn't want a I'm trying to blend German and French the other way. A Gench? A Gench Christmas?
I'm dreaming
Furman
of a
sounds
French
Furman, yeah.
It's getting off track a little bit, but we have you here today, Nick. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
I guess it would make sense for anybody who's listening, watching. Why are we doing this in English? I'm originally from London in the UK.
Yeah.
I have lived in the Netherlands, particularly in Groningen now for a few years, so we will probably switch between Dutch and English a little bit, because I'm getting to that phase where I can't help it anymore.
I noticed that you
Okay.
speak a lot more Dutch lately, yeah.
Yeah.
And I caught myself counting in Dutch yesterday, just in
Oh.
my head, counting some numbers, and I was like, why am I doing this in really on the...
The virus is the language is
consultant.
catching
Yeah.
on, yeah.
And I think the rest of the question was, what do I do?
Yeah.
Too much, I think, is the only appropriate answer for that.
Okay, yeah. And what would be your core business at the moment?
Well, we're sitting here in my office in the big building
Yeah.
in Groningen, so
Yeah.
that's a space for entrepreneurship. You guys know this already, but
Thanks for having us here.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. And sorry that I had to walk halfway across the city to make it on time.
Sorry to make you walk off.
And it's a small city until you have to walk it. The big building is a space for entrepreneurs. We have now more than 63 companies in-house, more than 450 community members.
Nice.
And so that consumes some of my time.
Yeah.
Also here in the city, I am allowed to claim the title of Chief Digital Officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it always surprises people when I tell them that the goal is not digital.
Yeah.
How can you be a Chief Digital Officer if the goal is not digital? Actually, it's about economics. It's about how do we make sure that as a city and a region, we have a future growth in digital economy. We are already the second internet city within the Netherlands.
That's good.
All right.
Obviously, Amsterdam is our big sister there, and they should be. They have 5 times the population.
Yeah.
They're also the capital city, and so that makes a lot of sense. But I think we can be really proud.
Yeah.
And really happy that the tourists go there and not
Exactly.
here.
So we're just far enough away.
Yeah.
Although we have a great tourism trade here too, so
Yeah.
just not quite the same as Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So really that role is about the future of economy and how do we make sure that when this digital transition really starts to hit us, we have new work, new focus, new things to do.
Yeah.
So for every job that we lose, how do we make sure we create one that's suitable for the future?
And does this also concern, like, for example, Elon Musk stresses that we should all worry about getting a basic income because we will lose all our jobs due to automation and robots.
Yeah,
Is this
so
also a concern?
So for me, that's a concern. It
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily fall under my role.
Yeah.
It's not my job to make those. Those are political decisions, and they're certainly not
Naturally.
local decisions. Sure, there are now cities around the world who are
Yeah.
testing, but to actually put that infrastructure in place, that's a government level decision.
Yeah.
I do think a lot of our work is already going. We're already feeling this. We have done for 10 years, and it's not the first time, right? The first industrial revolution took away work, but new work came.
Yeah.
So should we be afraid of it? No, I think we can have a healthy approach to it. But what's interesting is if you look at company law and institution law, and certainly the way government, whether that's local or national, spends their money, they're actually financially obligated, most of them, to optimize for some sort of shareholder or in the case of the government, citizen value. And so for every job that they can automate and save money, they actually have to.
Yeah.
Unless they've changed the statutes of their organization. So B Corporation is a movement in the US and now spreading all over the world. We have it here in the Netherlands, but not quite in the right legal format yet. And that's where you turn your statutes upside down and you say we have a mission and we serve the mission. And by the way, our shareholders might get something at the end.
A B corporation?
nice.
Yeah, benefit corporation.
I see.
So it's if you take a limited company or a BV, today the statutes, as you would get from your notary, say everything that we do to generate as much shareholder revenue or
Right.
profit as possible.
Right.
So everything for the shareholders.
Right.
Or if you're a government, it's everything for the citizens, right? They shouldn't spend our money unless they need to.
But
Yeah.
this is actually a healthy thing. So you say we aim for this certain goal, and our goal is not necessarily making money. It's making sure we make enough money. But the goal is to do what we're good at.
Right. So the goal of a benefit corporation is, hey, we want to do good things and
Yeah.
create benefit for the world. We want to fully support that. And obviously, we're a business. There's no argument about making money. This is not anti-money. It's about, okay, if you do good things for the world and you take all the profit out, you can do fewer good things for the world.
Yeah.
But if you can put that profit back in and keep doubling down on it. So think about Apple. They're heading towards being the first $1 trillion company. And that's cash sitting in the bank when they get there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make them the number one economy,
Yeah.
certainly
Yeah.
way above most countries in the world.
Yeah.
How much good could they do with that if it
lot.
wasn't channeled towards shareholder
Yeah.
value?
Because basically it's just sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Well, shareholders are probably, being happy that they make a little bit more money than off their saving account.
Yeah, so they're getting dividends whenever Apple chooses to pay those
Yeah.
dividends out. And of course, they're getting wealthy on the fact that they own that stock. So there's
Yeah.
the speculation.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But if your business is set up with trying to make the world a better place instead of
Yeah.
being a diehard capitalist, the statutes that we have generally in place today actually won't support that.
So
And
is it
actually?
So is it a healthy blend between the agility of a business and what a good a charity can do a bit, kind of.
Yeah, so if you look at most charities, they rely on mostly donated
Yes.
income in various streams. If it's a second-hand store, the clothes get donated, then they make money off it. If it's Oxfam, they do collections. And obviously, running those businesses cost a lot of money. So a lot of people are really surprised at how much the director or managing director or chairman or whatever of Oxfam and all of the other big charities has to earn.
Yeah.
But of course, they also forget that somebody needs to lead a massive global organization, and that person has a choice. I can either go work for this organization or this one where I will earn fat money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so saying I'm going to do this for nothing makes no sense. And so the sustainability of those organizations is always dependent on the goodwill. But if you can create a business where you say, hey, we have a product or a service that people are prepared to pay for,
Yeah.
and through those products and services, we may make the world a better place.
Yes.
A good example that's relevant to right now is Patagonia, the outdoor clothing company.
Yeah.
So they're making all of their products as sustainably as possible. Recycling materials, coming up with brand new materials that have never been used or created before. And they're channeling all their money into doing far better for the world and not worrying about
Yes.
how much money they put in the shareholders' pockets.
So would you say that this has this also something to do with this growing trend of seeing that eternal growth is not viable, is not sustainable?
Well, the
Does this
evidence
fit in
the
with that?
evidence is to the contrary. Look at Apple.
Yeah.
Look at Airbnb. Look at
Yeah.
those mega organizations, and these are the Western world examples. Look at Alibaba and Tencent in
Mhm,
China,
mhm.
but it's not viable for everyone.
Yeah.
No.
Look at
Yeah.
our local community.
Yeah.
How many freelancers do we know that make a great life but do not need the ambition of becoming the next Mark Zuckerberg or
Mhm,
whatever?
mhm.
That's also extremely healthy.
Yeah.
And so I don't see these as opposites. I see them as alternatives.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, I agree. So, and this is then not actually a part of you being the digital officer.
No, we just got
it's-
right
it's-
off on a tangent.
yeah. But regarding being the digital officer, I mean, is there things that we, the citizens of Groningen, can do to help you as a digital officer? And are there things you can do for the citizens?
Yeah.
Citizens.
Burgers?
Citizens.
Um,
Burgers.
So those are two very different questions.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that was deliberate. So the way the digital office works, that's my small team, is we're here to help other organizations, and that can be predominantly government,
Yeah.
education, or the business world, to figure out what they need next
Yeah.
to continue their business, but in support of Groningen. So what you can do as businesses is say, hey, we would love to do this thing, and we need the education world or the government world to come in and make it a joint project. Now,
Yeah.
that's where we can step in. If you come to me and say, hey, can you help my business better? Then I say, well,
That's-
call me on Friday, we'll go for beers. That's
Yeah.
your business.
Yeah.
If you say I need help from one of the other three,
Yeah.
then you have my interest. And if it's all three together, okay, now you really have my interest.
Then you have synergy.
Exactly. So, for example, what the camera can't see is
Yeah.
a list of 34 requests for help that we had a couple of weeks ago
Ah,
in one afternoon.
Yeah. Can we make a picture of that?
Uh,
Show it on the podcast?
Probably shouldn't.
Then we won't.
I'll
not-
put my
not-
phone down.
Yeah, not all of this is public knowledge.
Okay. Alright.
But you can see there's all sorts of company names on there, from small
Yeah.
and big,
Yeah.
education, government, local entrepreneurs, but also globals. They're not quite so obvious, but I can see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who are saying, hey, there is a next step we want to take with our organization or our business. We need the other parties to come on board. Can you help us and facilitate that?
That is pretty
see.
cool.
So that's one half of your question.
Yeah.
But the other half of the question was, what can I do?
Yeah.
Because my belief is this digital transition we're going through
Yeah.
will impact everybody. And if you're talking about the basic income and that sort of stuff, then we're already getting signs, whether you take the Elon Musk of the world who are saying we're all screwed,
Yeah.
that's a worst case scenario.
Mhm.
But if half of us are screwed, that's a still pretty
That's a
terrible
pretty
scenario.
impactful thing. Yeah.
And so what I say, particularly to people in our region, but actually all over the world, it applies equally whether you live in the Netherlands or India or South America, is you've got to start to internalize this and realize it's also your responsibility to make sure you're ready for those next moves.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Agreed.
So one of the things we talk about is that our standpoint is everybody has a right to a digital future.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that sounds obvious to us because we are already
But
in that.
it's
you know,
not.
look
Yeah.
We have
look at-
10,000 children in poverty here in the city of
Right.
Groningen.
So 1 in 5 children
Yeah.
in the region is on or under the poverty line.
Yeah.
Now that's Dutch poverty, not African poverty.
Fair
but
enough.
It means that mum and dad are worrying about how do I pay the energy bills.
Yeah. Or how do I pay for the laptop that my kid needs in school these days?
Well, they're not getting that laptop,
Yeah.
right? So now we have laptops for schools programs or iPad for schools programs.
Yeah.
But actually, that's not learning digital. That's getting a new tool. That's like getting a new book or a new pen.
True.
Learning digital is about what you're doing with those tools.
So it's not getting a fish, but learning how to fish.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is
And so think about it. If you don't have reasonably up-to-date hardware,
Yeah.
there's a good chance you don't have broadband at home, whether it's available or whether you can't afford it.
And it's simple things. If you're the only one in class who has to wait 5 minutes more before your laptop has booted up because it's an old handed down one, you miss the first 5 minutes of class.
Now, 5 minutes a class, 5 classes a day, 5 days a week
exactly.
over 15
Exactly.
years of education.
Yeah.
I can't do the math that
And
fast.
that's all
but
because your mom and dad had less money to spend.
and
Yeah.
that's before we talk about what is in the curriculum of the schools.
Yeah.
Right? There is a difference between, and this is a global thing, city center schools, typically more wealthy,
Mhm.
typically more qualified or differently qualified teachers and curriculums to those on the fringes.
Yeah.
And so one of our most important projects right now and this sounds a little strange from how do you create an economic impact, is making sure that in 2018, the schools in our region are building a digital curriculum. Because if they do that from the small school to the middle school to the big school to the high school to the university, that has an impact in years to come. So imagine you're 5 years old today. If we don't give them digital for the next 10 years, when they start coming out on the labor market, that's a very different world to the world we're in today. They won't be ready for this world. They're certainly not going to be ready for that world. Or at best case, it's luck. Now, education is usually not around luck. It's around long-term planning. So a lot of our focus this year and next year is about, okay, how do we get the schools going now to prevent that, and I don't want to say disaster, but ticking time bomb. And then we can also start focusing in parallel with, okay, and what can we do this year for this year, and next year for next year?
This kind of is an interesting challenge, because what for example, bigger organizations are struggling with is that they take a certain time to come up with new programs, and in the meantime that they're devising these programs, times change. So by the time they roll out their program, they're too late and running behind on the times. And the same thing is, I think, now starting to happen with schools, where
absolutely,
so developments
and not through any bad will, right? Nobody works in a school because they want to screw up kids.
Exactly.
And a really good example of this, and this is not equally true of all schools. There's always grey areas, but this is the Nerderlingen, so I think we can talk a little bit nerdy.
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
Imagine you're learning how to code, and it doesn't matter whether you're 5 years old or 15 or 25. If we're teaching you JavaScript or C++ or C# or whatever, Ruby on Rails, and if we see that there is a trend for, imagine 2 or 3 years ago, Ruby on Rails was hot. Right? Basecamp and 37 Signals really pushing that to the whole world. If we'd have put that in the curriculum, that would now be taught for the next 8 years. But it's already fading.
Exactly.
It's not hot anymore, but it would be stuck in the curriculum. So my question is, why are we teaching tools instead of skills and mindsets? Right? If we program our curriculums around the skill sets and the mindsets, we can use whichever tools are relevant much more flexibly.
Agreed.
Right? So the skill set of programming is understanding how to think and then type. The critical thinking, computational thinking.
However, in the case of programming, doesn't it apply at least to programming? If you learn one language, then it becomes easier to pick up another one.
But I like, for example, the toys that are out now for children, where you have, for example, like a little train that you can program with blocks and stuff like that. Because these things, if you the thought processes of how to logically make something do the things you want.
That's logical thinking. That's problem solving. I'm not saying we shouldn't teach tools. I'm saying we shouldn't hard code those in as the thing to be learned. We should learn those on the way, whilst learning the mindsets and the skill sets.
The tools. Learning a tool is more of it's a symptom or a result or something. You know how to use a tool, but before that, you learned how to think as a coder and how to.
So I mean, it's not for nothing that in English we have the phrase, "If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail."
I love that phrase.
Right. So imagine, I mean, back in my days, we had woodworking classes. Now you have 3D printing classes and stuff. But if I'd only been taught a hammer, there's not much I could build.
No.
I could probably destroy a lot. But if I need to screw together some IKEA furniture, but I've only been taught a hammer, that doesn't work. But if you teach me building stuff, and sometimes we use a hammer, and sometimes
reading instructions and solving problems that way.
And again, with education, I'm very generalizing here. It's complicated stuff. But
of course, but you have to have this discussion in a broader context, so you have no choice but to generalize and then zoom in on the fine
and again with an economic perspective, right? So what work will be available for those people, and how do we and the answer is we don't know, so how do we prepare them to do something that we don't know that's not about tool sets.
I wanted to ask something else, because you mentioned that Groningen is the second digital city,
internet city.
Second internet city. So we're the 6th largest city in the Netherlands.
Approaching the 5th.
Approaching the 5th, approaching Eindhoven, I think it is.
Approximately,
So what do you need to have to be the second or the first internet city? Is it just the number of connections or companies, or what is it?
Yeah, so it's this statistic is based on the number of companies,
right,
who are basically their primary product and or service is served through the internet.
Right.
So mere tech companies.
Yeah.
So that's not okay. So that's tech companies, but not.
Yeah.
Does it also include like web shops or?
Yeah, that's
or
a tech
does
company.
it include
Okay.
that I recently made all my dishwashing machines connect to the internet, for example?
Well, so
How many
That's
dishwashing
the princess
machines
here.
do you need?
so that wouldn't be a company.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing at home.
Yeah.
But obviously, somebody's providing you with that Internet of Things
And
connection.
that would again be the company that's serving. Yeah,
Yeah.
get it.
Maybe it would be great to have not a laundromat for laundry, but a dishwashet.
Did
Or so if you want multiple dishwashers, you can do it.
well, did we already talk about this in the Nerderlingen before? That a series of dishwashers was actually hacked because they ran a really badly protected version of Linux, and
I don't remember that.
they ran a botnet from
Really?
a worldwide network of dishwashers.
So this makes sense as to why, as part of our digital city perspective, we're focusing
Yeah.
on cyber safety as a
Yeah.
new
Yeah.
industry
Yeah.
for the North.
Yeah, blockchain,
You know,
of course.
The
is-
rumors are 50 billion new devices are going to be connected to the internet.
Which
in
is
the next
kind of cool with HackerOne coming from these parts. Is HackerOne still very involved here in Groningen?
Absolutely.
So that's double cool because you have a solid basis then to you promote cybersecurity from here.
And it's interesting because you name HackerOne, but we have other prestigious cyber security /safety /hacking companies,
Yeah.
but nobody knows them.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's typically Northern Dutch, isn't it? We
I
should
knew
do
one
something
more
about
that was here in Groningen was Zerocopter.
Yeah.
cool name.
I think they moved though, but I'm not sure. But they
But
were.
I'll
I did
forever
a video
name
for
them
them.
Rufflecopter now.
And
only one I
you know,
know.
one of the other big ones that not many people know about is Insight Security.
Ah.
Big player.
Insight with a T, I
Yeah.
think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where are they in Groningen? Really?
Yeah.
And of course, we can't be talking about tech without mentioning blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
With Dutch chain also being
Yep.
in Groningen.
And now going for Blockchangers, the new hackathon
Yeah.
in 2018,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is going to be awesome.
Yes.
That'll be the next, the biggest blockchain hackathon in the
Yeah,
world.
because it will be
Agreed,
the
yes.
second, right? Because
Yeah,
they
it'll be their
Yeah.
second
their
hackathon.
second. Yeah.
But what a lot of people in Groningen have missed is that Dutch chains specifically have a national and actually global focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, these sorts of technologies will never stop at borders. Right? They have
No.
no concept of geography.
No, they're like nature.
It is the internet.
Yeah.
And so, for example, I think 2 weeks ago, a Dutch chain hosted a tech deep dive that had something like 600 people in the room and 4,000 people on the live stream.
Wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And I had some insiders at that event, and it was a real deep dive.
Mental note that this is something that could be promoted also more because I am helping out with organizing the hackathon and as
Yeah.
are you actually. So and I
It's
did
that,
not know
it's
this.
that
And
North
this is
Netherlands
awesome.
thing again.
So this would be retweet worthy from my point of view.
There we go.
Yeah, very cool.
Somebody should put this on a map.
So, I know from my perspective that running a hub is very time consuming and you're running a big hub.
Yeah.
So that's almost a full-time job. And then you have the digital office, which takes away time. And then how does one unwind after such long hours?
So the first thing I got to say is, with the big building, we have an operations team of 3 people.
Yeah.
And 3 people
Yeah.
in this size of building is
Yeah.
that's still incredible.
Yeah.
And they do all of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So yes, the big building takes time for me, and that's far more on the strategic side of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's good.
it's certainly not 40 hours a week. So that gives me a lot of space.
Yeah.
Unwinding, that's on my goals for 2018. It was admittedly on my goals for 2017
It's been
as well.
on your list for 3 years.
Yeah. Something I discovered recently. I joined a small innovation team for a weekend on Terschelling, one of the Frisian
Nice.
islands, and I'd forgotten. And I think I go through this process every year, but I'd forgotten how much being outdoors
Yeah.
and somewhat isolated. I mean, it's not the end of the planet by any means.
No.
But when you
In the
when you
Netherlands,
step off
that's-
that boat,
Yeah.
you're in a very different
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
being near the sea is, in my opinion, one of the most soothing and relaxing surroundings to
Yeah.
be in.
We took a really long
Yeah.
walk along the beach. We took
Yeah.
some mountain bikes through the woods. Obviously, we had some good food and drink. But not only did we get some great quality work done, but you're in a very different headspace.
Are
Yeah.
you familiar with Shinjin Roku?
The name rings a bell. Wrote
It's
book.
forest bathing.
Okay.
It's a Japanese
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
that you go have a bath in the forest because it's good for your blood pressure and stress levels and all these.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, it's just 1 or 2 hours having a bath in the forest.
And
you don't
this-
have to get naked. It's perfect.
Is that optional or
It's
not-
optional,
okay.
as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, but so if you want to, just don't know about the law. but-
I don't think I would like to do this, because I think if I would do this, of course, naturally around the corner of this nice big oak is a group of of kindergarten
Yeah.
kids that are
Yeah.
with a camera crew.
Probably not something to do in
No.
in Stocks
Yeah.
Park.
Anyway, clothes on or off. Shinjin Roku. It's a Japanese thing, and it's.
So, I mean, to me, that makes so much sense that
Yeah.
actually in January we're hosting an event called Strategy Ski.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We did this in 2017.
Sounds very Russian.
Yeah, sort of. No, probably Polish. But,
New vodka.
and we all know, the beginning of a year, personally you make resolutions, but you're also thinking about your business or the future of your year, and that's really the moment where you want to make some plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I coach a lot of entrepreneurs, and one of the things I constantly have to remind them is there's two ways of working. You can be in your business, so that's doing the day-to-day, the operations, the sale, whatever it is you do, but you can also be on the business.
Yeah.
And for many entrepreneurs, that on the business
Mm-hmm.
always takes a secondary place. And of course, if you spend all your time in the business getting stuff done,
Yeah.
you've sort of lost control of where you're
Yeah.
going.
So what's the
Yeah.
difference? Is on the business more of a
Strategic.
yes?
So
For example, in the business is doing your daily
Yes.
day-to-day work, and on your business is what I do with a couple of entrepreneurs.
You look
we,
at the
we do what we
context
call
of-
inter-VC, and it's not actually the real deal from a psychology point of view, but we sit and discuss our businesses instead of running our businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
also really
very
valuable when
healthy.
you're running
Yeah.
a hub is pulling the entrepreneurs out of that
Yeah.
day-to-day world and saying, okay, but what have you achieved in the month, and is that the right stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The difference
Yeah.
between doing things right and working on the right things makes or breaks
Mhm.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So Strategy Ski is 4 days. We drive down to Austria, simple 10-hour drive. We book a chalet, and in the mornings everybody's up at 8, showers, breakfast, 9 o'clock on the dot. Kitchen table is clean. We get down to work,
Yeah.
but not the day-to-day operations, because of course we're 10 hours away.
Yeah.
So it's what do we want to achieve in 2018?
Yes.
Where are we heading? What are the big things? How do we break that down into small things? Who's going to do what? 1 o'clock we stop.
Yeah.
Lunch, and then all afternoon in the snow.
Yeah.
And then in the evening you can call it team building, après ski,
Yeah.
just whatever people want to do. Very
Binging.
natural process.
Yes.
We did this at the beginning of 2017, and we got more done in those 4 mornings, and of course the conversation in the car on the way back, than I think we'd done in months.
Yeah,
Because you're focused on one thing only, and
Yeah.
you're not getting distracted. Nobody's knocking at the door. The telephone's not ringing.
so
Really
is
powerful.
once a year enough then, or would you actually think of maybe we should do a summer session as well and make it strategy jet ski?
Yeah, so I know a few people who take what they call
Yeah.
workations.
Yeah. Yes.
And usually to the sunshine.
Yes.
That works equally as well. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't find it unusual if you did something in the
And
beginning of the year and
yeah.
like a 6-month review in the
This-
summer.
I will definitely be entrepreneurs around the Netherlands. You are invited to go with me on vacation sometime soon.
There we go.
because that
And
sounds
that's
really
also the interesting thing is, last year we did it as our own team. This year we're opening up to invite other entrepreneurs.
Very
so not their whole team. If they want to bring their whole team, that's fine.
good. Yeah.
But also the freelancers or just a few entrepreneurs from a few companies with different mindsets and skill sets.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you they will be able to help each other figure out steps
Yeah.
that are in their current blind spots. And I must say, I didn't come up with this idea on my own. All credit to my friend Jack Hubbard for
Cool.
prompting me in this direction.
Very cool concept. So, with all this, do you still have time for nerd stuff in your life? Have you been doing anything nerdy the last month or so, for example?
Have I been doing anything nerdy in the last month? So to be honest, a lot of my work is nerdy, but I'm not getting my hands on the nerdy.
Yeah.
It's like nerdy
Yeah. So you're a true entrepreneur then.
from a distance.
What do you geek out about? Maybe that's
What do I? So I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday. We have heard of the virtual reality is coming, and I remember the film The Lawnmower Man.
Yeah.
I just-
oh no,
Wasn't
I
that Stephen
Yeah.
King?
remember that.
really, really, I mean, 8-bit virtual reality. I mean, it's unthinkable today, but when that came out when I was a kid, I was like, wow. And of course, it just vanished.
Yeah.
And so I get geeky about models and methods. So if you know the Gartner hype cycle, right, new technologies come, they get really hyped up. Virtual reality, 1980 something, it's going to be awesome, and then it vanishes for 20
Isn't that also about that we overestimate the impact of a new technology in the short run, and we underestimate the impact of new technology on the long run?
Yep, and we also, and so the top of that hype cycle is, wow, fantastic, it's going to be here tomorrow. Then we realize how hard it is, so it disappears, and then eventually it comes out into reality. So Magic Leap, one of the most secretive tech companies out there, worth something like $6 billion today.
$6 billion?
Even though they haven't launched a product. They've had
launch on
1.6
Kickstarter?
billion in investments.
Yeah.
I think they promised to launch a developer kit, but I don't think it ever materialized. Yesterday announced Magic Leap 1.
Yeah.
Consumer facing, and they're the first to admit it's going to be the early adopters.
And was it that the one with the 2 4K screens in the...
So it's basically a pair of goggles
Yeah.
that has a full computing power in it, but are so lightweight you don't know you're wearing them.
Oh, that's
The
smart.
main computer is about the size of a Discman,
Yeah.
and they reckon it has the same computing power as an Alienware gaming
Yeah.
Oh, really?
computer / Mac Pro,
That's impressive.
and is light enough to just wear on your belt.
Yeah, so you're not, you know, the cable or wireless thing is
It's
problem.
done, right?
Yeah.
One hand controller,
Yeah.
but it also responds to voice and touch and waving your hands around, but also your eyes and sound.
Great. So they
Wow.
finally incorporated something like the Leap Motion.
Yep, stereoscopic sound, so the sound is reactive. You got to go read the Rolling Stone article because they promise this will be delivered in 2018. Again, it's early adopter stuff, right? It's the people who bought the first iPhone.
Yeah.
That mentality.
I think I will definitely. I have a little bit of budget for VR headsets soon, and I'm gonna get.
Well, so it's not only the headset. That's the point. It's the whole computing system.
It's, in my
So
mind, it's the same
I'm
thing.
guessing this is going to be 3, 4, maybe even 5,000 euros. So certainly not consumer grade.
No.
But if you read the Rolling Stone article about how good the demos that he was allowed to see really are, the guy was astonished. And he went in as a skeptic. He also talks about demos that he saw that he's not allowed to talk about. And then there was stuff that he wasn't allowed to see. Wow. And going back to your comment about underestimation, I think this is going to be a complete game changer for the internet world.
All right.
But do we know how yet is a different question.
Yeah, we'll have to see because it's not done yet. Some people were claiming that virtual reality would be dying, but then all of a sudden the mixed reality headsets came out for some almost half the price of the HTC ones.
Yeah.
So that's already game changing in that they're now more and more available for regular consumers.
Right. And so this is that over-underestimation you're talking about.
Yeah.
Think about the first supercomputer, the Babbage, right? Wouldn't fit in this room,
Yeah.
cost gazillions, and everyone was like, we don't need computers.
And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 computers just around this table.
Yeah.
that we no
insane.
longer even think about.
Yeah, we don't even consider them computers.
Right?
anymore.
I mean, that was the magic of the iPad, right? One of the biggest failures was you don't know you're using an iPad. All you see is the content.
Yeah.
Whether it's a game or an article or social media, it doesn't
You
matter.
don't need to hook up a keyboard and all those
Right,
wires
but
and cables.
When
but it's-
you're deep in an article or watching Netflix on a tablet, the tablet has vanished.
Yeah. pretty
it
smart.
immediately reminds me of Arthur C. Clarke, and I always misquote him, but it's about how sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
It's a
I think
nice
that's pretty
quote.
much spot on.
Somewhat like
pretty,
that. Yeah.
pretty good quote for these kind of things.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of stuff that it's
That's what
nerding
you
from a
geek out.
distance.
Yeah, but it's nerding, all right.
Is it nerding at the future, or is it nerding at the possibilities, or is it just virtual reality in this case that gets you going?
No,
or-
so for example, I'm whether you love him or hate him, Elon Musk is doing incredible things that
Yeah.
are impossible and unthinkable, but he's making them happen. So I love what he's done with Tesla. Completely turning the business model upside down, starting at the top end with the luxury cars. But if you see that from an entrepreneurial perspective, that created enough capital to get to the next level down, and so now that Tesla Model 3 is sold out forever.
Yeah.
And too many people are totally underestimating what it means that SpaceX built rockets that can land. They have no
Oh,
idea
that is
how
so awesome.
that is going to be a game changer. In the long run.
And the funny thing is, as soon as he proved it was possible, it was just obvious.
yeah.
And we can never go back.
It's still mad to see it. It's so beautiful to see a rocket come down at the speed with which it does, and then just fire its rocket and just
Land with grace.
It's
land
beautiful.
with grace.
It's
Exactly.
beautiful.
I can't wait for the Falcon Super Heavy,
Yeah.
the big.
Did you see he published some photos yesterday
Yeah.
of that's
Amazing.
enormous.
And there's also this capsule that they have that splits open and releases a satellite, and the capsule halves can be steered. So usually these
So they can recover those as well.
Yes, they just built a new boat
Wow,
to do
that's
just that.
awesome.
To land that thing, it's like a flying saucer. It's not actually anything like a rocket or an airplane.
Yeah.
It's half of a
a
cylinder.
shell.
Yeah. It's like an egg. So they're gonna steer that onto a barge,
And
onto
catch
a
it.
boat, and catch it.
And not destroy it.
hopefully.
So that makes
But
it.
maybe a few times at first,
Yeah. Of
course.
But
It's
But
beautiful.
if we now go back and if you imagined, because how does Elon Musk get there? These are the things I geek out about, right?
yeah,
Apart from the fact that it is actually rocket science, but outside of the rocket science, everything he talks about is not rocket science.
Yeah.
It's like, imagine if we had to throw away an airplane every time we flew.
Mm-hmm.
It's unthinkable. But why do we accept this in the space
Yeah.
industry?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
no, it doesn't.
If you've
It
spent
makes no-
90% of
it
your
makes
money,
no business
why
sense.
throw it away?
It makes no business sense. does
And
it?
that's what
Yeah.
enabled him to eventually outcompete NASA, so they're
Yeah.
now one of his biggest clients. Because there's no way they had enough funding to develop all that tech.
Yeah.
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 And of course, being a government-run institution, they are obligated to spend as little money as possible.
yeah.
So every time they need a new satellite out, they have to put a tender out. And of course, SpaceX wins because
They're the cheapest.
they're the cheapest.
Yeah.
And they've proven it and proven it and proven it.
Yeah.
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 Oh, I like that.
So, things like electric cars, autonomous cars.
I can't wait for autonomous cars. I want one because just
Yeah.
imagine it wouldn't be a problem anymore for us to go to the Randstad. We would just program the car to drive there. In the meantime, I would work on my laptop or invite
We
friends
can play
to
a
hang
board
out.
game.
Yeah, exactly.
So imagine this. You'll actually call it, and I say call, I mean push a button,
Yeah.
like an Uber.
Exactly.
You won't
Yeah.
even
You
program
don't
it.
need parking spaces in the city anymore. You can park them
You
outside.
don't need to own one.
Also that,
Nope.
but also imagine this: they're designing the autonomous cars wrong. They should make cars not with 4 seats like this. They should make 4 seats like this.
Oh, but
Already
that's
being
going.
done.
That's
Oh,
going to
great.
be. That's definitely
Great.
good.
But
They were thinking about this in the 50s. They were
Yeah.
imagining self-driving cars, and they have self-driving cars in the port of Rotterdam since the 80s. Of
Yeah,
course, those
self-driving trucks.
trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically they're nothing more than trailers
Yeah.
with a bit of a brain, but usually guidelines in the
Warehouses
asphalt.
have had controlled forklift trucks for
Yeah.
decades already.
It's amazing to me that we're doing this now in the way that we do it, because what we're trying to do now is actually quite complicated. Instead of just adjusting the roads to make it easier to have self-driving cars, maybe put some lines in the roads or something, we're trying to make cars that can actually drive just as, or better even, than a human driver.
Yeah.
Way better than
So
a
let me
human
give you
driver.
some perspective on this. If we talk about the trucks in Rotterdam, in the harbors, and the forklift trucks, they're all what we call wire guided. So there is a hard-coded, literally a physical wire in the road.
Yes.
So they can only follow the track. That's the big difference between that technology from
Exactly.
the 80s versus
Yeah.
what the autonomous vehicle industry is
Yeah.
building today.
And also added to that, we have cyclists and children, we
So-
have
And
weird
they're
traffic
doing some really
situations,
cool things.
weather.
So I was just about to give you an alternative perspective. We have a very Western world, and especially here in Groningen, perspective of what autonomous mobility might mean. But now just cast your mind to somewhere like Vietnam,
Yeah, it's going to be totally
Yeah.
different.
right? Where things like stoplights and give way signs, and the infrastructure is very different. Their traffic levels are very different, and so this somewhat utopian perspective of just perfect, consistent travel, we're a long way from that on a global level.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Actually, you mentioned bicycles. We're a bicycle city. 66% of our daily transits are on bicycle in this city. It's one of the hardest things for a self-driving car to identify at this moment. Because if you
that
think about a
could be a
bicycle in
problem.
profile, it's 2 circles and a stick. In my case, 2 circles and an extra circle.
Yeah.
Which way is front and back?
Yeah.
Cyclists do not obey laws as stop signs.
Laws of physics.
Cyclists obey nothing.
but also things like we don't give good hand directions, right? That's
No.
something a car needs
Yeah.
to be able to. We just do
Some
it.
people go
car
like,
can't-
and some people do nothing.
Sometimes you can tell somebody's turning because they're looking towards a turn, but they're not actually putting their hand
Right.
out. And
So that's a very human
exactly,
thing.
yeah.
think about the computation
So
that's going
hard.
on in your brain,
Yeah.
the assumptions you are split second. So we're a long way from getting that level of
Yeah.
granularity.
Yeah.
Here's something interesting. I was speaking to an expert on this sort of subject, transportation of the future, a few weeks ago, and he said it would actually be better if we ripped all of the trains and the train tracks out and just made dedicated,
Oh,
protected car lanes.
didn't Wibbo Ockels suggest the superbus?
Yeah, I
Something
think he
like
did.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Including
And
a
so,
design
by the time
for
you
that
make
machine.
those all green, probably hydrogen, Waterstoff based, but also with the frequency of an autonomous car.
Yeah,
So the thing with buses is you really want them to be full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with lots of cars is it's easier to fill many cars than one bus.
Yes.
Because they can go at precise, it's like, I want it now or
They're
in
more
5 minutes.
granular.
So Silicon Valley right now is all laughing at Uber because they've created a bigger self-driving car. We used to call that a bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, is this really new? But what's new is the thought process behind it. Then instead of saying at exactly 5 minutes past every hour, the bus will arrive and take you, there's one on its way.
Yeah.
Oh, you need one? It's on its way.
And by having multiple of these buses that are controlled by, something semi-intelligent, it can route it so that you always have a bus in demand. Which
Right,
is
so
pretty cool.
always optimal efficiency. So that's what Uber has been working on behind the scenes. Everyone thinks it's about getting a taxi right now.
Yeah.
No, their magic
They've-
is
they've-
understanding flow.
They've not been secretive about their intentions of replacing their current Uber drivers with basically just autonomous cars
Right.
or buses.
And if we go back to, do you want to do good for the world? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? How many taxi drivers are there on the planet?
Well,
What are they going to do?
What are all the truck drivers and bus drivers going to
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
That's a lot of jobs.
And so that's what I mean as it's also your personal responsibility. If you're a truck driver, a taxi driver, if you do administrative work, right, pretty much anything a human can do can be done by a machine
Yeah.
sooner or later. Because if we can program it in our heads, we can program it into a computer.
Yeah.
So
I want
those
to-
people have to start thinking about what am I going to do next?
Yeah.
I think it's important that we do the thing of the week.
Well,
because,
actually, we haven't even talked about what you've been geeking out about.
I don't. I can be very brief
Yeah,
about that.
be brief about
Maps.
Maps.
Yeah, I
And,
saw
I'm,
tell
that.
us.
and I'm actually building a web shop, which is a completely new experience for me.
So what
So-
exactly happened in your map life since last Nerderlingen?
kind of blew up, right?
Yeah, well, I should tell that. Yes,
I think so.
So a couple of weeks ago, I think after the last recording session, I tweeted an old map that I made back in January 2016. So it's almost 2 years old already. And it was a map of it was a subway map of the highways of the Netherlands, and it's a complete map. So it has all the exits with all the exit numbers, all the rest stops, all
And that's the
interchanges.
roads,
highways,
but in the format of the
of
London
a subway.
Underground subway
Yes,
map.
exactly like that, with some added information because you don't have rest stops or highway numbers or exit numbers. So because just generally I was curious, can I make a map like this of the Netherlands? It's a small country, so I tried it, and yes, it can be made. So I tweeted that because I made this other map as a Christmas card, and so it was kind of in the line of those tweets. But the tweet of the highway map just exploded overnight, and
You are now internet famous.
well, not really, but I went from
a little.
1,400 to 2,400 people who follow me on Twitter.
Wow.
So that's nice. And I think all my other channels are also benefiting from that because my YouTube channel has grown to almost 800 subscribers, and there's a lot of benefit
there's a
coming from
whole
this.
industry of people calling themselves growth hackers that would love to achieve those sorts of statistics.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Almost double your growth overnight. That's unthinkable.
That's
it's luck.
amazing.
It's really just
No,
luck.
I don't think it's luck. I
It's
think
a
it's 2
combination.
years of
It's
hard
also
work into it.
skill.
Well,
It's
yeah.
a beautiful map. It's really
Well,
awesome.
oh.
And
We need to wiggle the because I don't hear myself.
wiggle. There we
Nope,
go.
not working.
Oh, more wiggle.
Yeah, I can hear myself.
Technology gonna take over the world.
Yes.
Just wiggle it.
Just wiggle it.
Yeah,
So
my
I-
car is
well,
not
it's-
driving itself right. Just wiggle it.
I think it's part luck and part effort, of course, because you need to know a minimal amount of people to get the snowball down the hill, I think.
Sure.
And then from
but,
there, it's
but
just
that's also not luck. That's years of building your own network. You
Yeah,
didn't
I
realize
guess.
it. It wasn't a
Maybe.
conscious decision.
yeah.
But
Probably.
it's an output
I think
of
it's
the work you've done.
It's well deserved, at least. Whether
Thanks.
so it might be luck, it might not be luck. I'm more with you on this one.
Yeah.
Either way, you've worked hard for this.
I mean, if anything is luck, it's just the timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Because maybe
yeah.
you'd have launched this 6 months ago. You didn't even launch it.
I
but-
didn't. I didn't mean to launch anything,
Yeah.
so it kind of caught me by surprise, and I'm kind of
Which is why you don't
scrambling.
have a web shop and
So-
you don't
exactly.
And
But I'm right now. I found out the last couple of weeks that I am enjoying this massively. This is giving me so much energy, and it's basically setting up shop,
Literally.
literally.
So you're going to become part of our internet industry.
Yes, if I'm not already, but yes. So
Well,
yeah.
I'd say you're part of the creative industry today, but now
Sure.
it's definitely a step
I'm
into...
entering the technology sector. So
so yeah, pretty cool.
we'll see. In January, I want to put them on sale.
And ironically, you're going to print them on paper.
yeah,
So you're entering the technology world with a very analog
with a very physical product.
How big are the maps going to be?
A2.
A2.
How big could we make them?
Yeah, can I make
As
can I
big
get
as
them
you
bigger?
want. Yeah, they
How-
can be scaled up
How
indefinitely in theory. So you know.
I feel a challenge coming on.
So at first I'm gonna sell them on A2 paper, and I might offer A1 or even A0 by on order. But those are really big.
Could
so.
we cover the Grote Markt with one so that we can show how far the distance between Amsterdam and Groningen is?
That is really cool.
Well, if you want to accurately portray the distance between Groningen and Amsterdam, my map is not the right
it's
map.
the wrong kind.
It's not
I
to
agree.
scale?
It's
Well-
it's not the scale, but it's a subway map. You know,
Yeah,
it,
okay.
it doesn't
Yes.
do geography very
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
I have different maps in works though, so you know.
Oh,
maybe in
you
the
heard it
future.
here first.
Yes, it's already on Twitter, but I'm working on some horror fantasy kind of map.
I like that one.
Yeah, so
with
so
the-
Groningen will be the Tower of Groning, and
Yeah.
it's in English. So I'm making all these word jokes from existing cities and towns, and I try to find towns with a nice name in Dutch that I can translate to something
and Twitter
dark.
is nicely pitching in
Yeah,
there.
Twitter is
actually.
pitching
You have a
in,
lot of
so-
Will there be
response on
anything
that.
above Groningen?
No, the whole of the Netherlands.
The whole of the Netherlands.
Yeah,
like
Well, it'd be the Nether space lands, of course. The Nether space. Yeah, there's God's lentils. There's the things.
yeah.
There's actually a place called the Dingen. So
the things.
there's going to be the things, and I'm going to make illustrations all over the map. So the things will be illustrated. There's of course Hungry Wolf, and there's Happy Ham, and there's all kinds of names that will be.
And of course, it would be so tempting to couple that with existing sci-fi, fantasy, horror characters. But
Oh,
then you're going to
yes.
be right into copyright territory.
Definite. Yep. Well, I hope not, but who knows? Maybe they'll want to make a movie off my map. I just need to
See, look at
repark
that.
my car.
Magic.
This is magic. I didn't even leave the floor we're on.
No.
It's amazing.
Paying the parking meter from the sky.
Yes.
What about you? What are you
Yeah.
nerding about?
Thanks for being our host.
It's been a very stressful month in December madness. So somehow the whole world feels like they need to speak to you before Christmas because otherwise the world dies or something.
Yeah.
You know, I have a phrase for that.
Yeah.
Your emergency is not my problem.
Yes, yes, and I'm trying to live by that, and it's working reasonably well actually. So I'm happy about that. But still, it's much more busy than usual. I found out though I've been nerding mostly on a musical way. I managed to get myself a really cool new acoustic guitar and bought Rose a ukulele. And we actually not only been making music separately, but also together. And Rose is been
Oh, cool.
looking up tunes like Somewhere Over the Rainbow and Stand By Me, and it's actually really
Could you be more
cute and
any
adorable.
stereotypically hippie hipster if you
Yeah.
tried?
Well, no, but it's just in all the madness that you can have in entrepreneurial life, being home late at night when your girlfriend grabs a ukulele and starts practicing, and I grab my guitar
Oh, yeah.
and just start plonking along.
Jam sessions.
That's so
and
cool.
it's actually one of the best things we've been doing this year, I think.
I think
So-
I want to do the same thing. The only downside is that the only instrument I can play right now is the drums, and I
Yeah.
don't think the neighbors will appreciate it
And-
if I start drumming it.
But then again,
midnight.
I have been geeking out musical. We're going to go into the rehearsal studio together.
Yeah.
I think in a couple of days from now.
Yeah,
1 week
yeah.
or so. So music is this month's theme, actually also for the thing of the week.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Nice segue.
We can head straight into that if we still want to sample the beers because we have only 10 minutes left.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
we have to be quick.
we
then.
want to sample the beers, right?
Why don't you get the thing and you get the beers and we
Yeah,
can...
but I know where the fridge is, so.
So I'll get.
Shall I get the beers? 'Cause I
Why
know
don't
the
you
fridge
guys
is.
it's the 2 alcohol vrijtjes and the 1 of Brouwerij Groningen. If you bring 3 glasses, we can all sample
Is it okay
And then
for
I'll
the guests
just
to leave the
I'll
room?
just fill
Yes, it
time.
is okay
Yeah,
to-
it's
yeah,
okay. I'll
yeah,
just
yeah.
sing a. No, I'm not gonna
No,
sing a
don't
song.
So in the meantime, we'll just describe the thing of the week.
Yeah, because we have, of course, listeners who don't necessarily watch the video on YouTube.
So the thing of the week is, and how do we show this?
Ugh.
Oh, yeah. This
basically, Mendel is destroying a
no,
small.
this is supposed to come
Oh,
off.
it's supposed to come off. of course.
So, but can people see it on camera? So the thing of the week is a tiny flight case.
Let me film that. I've again lost
Yeah.
hearing, but that's okay,
So,
I guess.
So we'll do it like this or something.
So
and
it's your pedal case. Is that the right word?
Or guitar rig or something like that. Can you still hear me? I don't hear
Nope,
myself anymore.
I don't hear you anymore. So assuming that it's still
Yeah.
recording,
It is still recording.
I'm still not hearing myself. But
Yeah, we'll fix
the thing
that.
is that we have like maybe I should film that.
Yeah. Can you hear yourself now?
No. So we have this monstrosity of 2 splitters. There's the sound again.
Good.
We have these 2 because we have 3 headphones. We have 2 splitters and a couple of
And 1 headphone jack.
and an adapter and all these things,
Or-
and it's just a mess. And we need to be more professional, Mark.
Agreed. Yeah.
So,
So did you find the Brouwerij Groningen beer?
I did.
Excellent.
So it's funny that you picked the Heineken alcohol. It's funny that you picked the Heineken alcohol free because
That's one of the best ones out there.
yeah,
I brought some extra glasses just in case. I've got a funny story about that beer.
Yeah.
Here in the big building, we have an account with Heineken because we have a lot of events, right? So you
Right.
can be able to buy your beverages alcoholic and not with a discount.
I didn't even realize there were accounts for this, but it makes total sense now
Yeah.
that you mention it.
Wholesale accounts.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Right? And clearly they have not looked at our order history very well because they sent us a Christmas present, which is a box of alcohol-free Heineken. and of course that caused a lot of laughter with us as to, WTF. One, do they not know our reputation? But 2, do they just not know the system? But you open a box and there's a letter inside that says, we think you'll really like this. Yes, it's alcohol-free, but it is award-winning as now the best. So I brought a normal Heineken so we could actually do a taste
yeah.
test.
Taste test.
So taste test wise, I'll only taste a sip of the Brouwerij Groningen one because,
Yeah.
as you know, I don't drink alcohol.
Yep.
And then I'll switch to
We
the 0.0.
can do the alcohol comparison.
I
Yeah,
thought so.
I still
That's
need
what
to
I thought.
drive, so
So
Who cares?
That's why I
um,
brought some glasses. Yeah.
So,
So I can throw up now.
would
Thing of the
actually- Yeah, the thing of the week is
Yeah.
a small little flight case, and in it are guitar pedals. And I think he called it a pedal board. I'm thinking of guitar rig. What would you call this?
Gear.
Gear stuff. So, and the funny thing is actually that this is again for me the small little amazements of how far technology has come. Because these pedals I bought in the 90s. And this pedal I bought in 2017, and this can do pretty much anything that something this size can do. It's equally solid and strong, has an equal amount of knobs roughly, and it's cute and tiny. And this whole box was actually built for 5 of these, and I went like, yeah,
You hacked it.
but so I turned this into a little hacking project because this little cute flight case was down priced to I think like something like 15 euros, and I didn't have a solid solution for my pedals, so I figured I'm sure I can hack this, and
Yeah.
so I bought it. I cut out the shapes for these pedals, and it works really nicely. So for the first time in my life, I feel like an almost professional guitarist, where I have a little flight case with all my kit in it, and I can open it up, just plug in the guitar and the amp, and just rock out.
But also keep them safe, not damage them.
Yes.
And the funny thing is, this one, the new one,
Yeah.
could probably be fraction of that size, but there's a human element of you need to be able to stand on it.
It could even be smaller, but the tinier than this, you can't turn the knobs, and you know.
Really?
Anyway, you need to have a solid foot switch that won't buckle under your weight. So,
right. But I can hear already it's giving you really positive feedback.
Yeah. So you can really feel that you actually turn it on and off. Yeah. So that makes it really good.
Has one of your previous guests, Herman Kopinger, seen this already?
No, actually not, because he might like it, though it still has some small flaws.
Yeah, he'd question your perfectionism, but he's got that love for buttons.
Yeah,
that's true. So what's really more comfortable, the big pedal or the small switch?
They're equally fine. Actually, I think this one, they don't give us good feedback because they don't actually click. Yeah. So I like this one better than these. And actually, I need to clean these pots crackle like mad.
They're loose. I can see that they're moving. When you turn one knob, the other two knobs move as well.
Yeah.
So
this
build quality.
Are
these variable inputs? So can you use them like a wah-wah?
I have a wah-wah that I'm going to see how I can fit in, but that one is actually now this size and it doesn't have to be. So I kind of reserve this space to hack this.
But these are kind of like
switch on, switch off.
Yeah. Actually, you know, when I was looking to buy a suitcase for these microphones, I figured out that you can buy foam.
Yeah.
Separately.
It exists.
And
exists.
You can buy or create your own flight cases, put the foam in, and make custom cases.
Exactly.
Like that.
I didn't know that, and maybe some other people still don't who listen to this, but so that's how that works. If you have a flight case and you have equipment, you can just buy these layers of foam and just literally pick out the shape you want.
And I'll warn you now, you can start getting really nerdy about foam because it comes in different densities. So think about a sponge that you use in your kitchen. Mm-hmm. That's foam. Think about the covers on these microphones. These are foam. Think about the density of the stuff in there. That's also foam. So
the stuff on my mouth when I'm rocking out.
My brain is 99% foam.
I had heard that.
Yeah.
So
beard. I think my beard is my beard technically foam.
We should sample the beard.
We should sample it.
So I'm thinking you probably want one of those.
Yeah. Yes, please. And I will definitely taste.
I have a bottle opener.
I will taste this one.
There's one
right at the front.
The funny thing is,
there you go.
I pretty much met Hero Havinga de Poel from Brouwerij Groningen like 3 times in a row. The second time we both kind of forgot where, but we remembered that there was a beer connection. And then the third time I ran into him at kindergarten where we both have our kids. Obviously. And we didn't know. So that was funny. Actually, our kids played together that day. And then he said, do you want something nice? And I said, well, yes, of course. And then he said, new batch. Nobody has had this one yet. And he came out with this beer.
Brand new.
So it is the Brouwerij Groningen. It's called the, what is it? The Zware Blond?
The Heavy Blonde.
The Heavy Blonde. And
I've known a few of those in my life.
Nice label.
Yeah. It's I think 9% alcohol.
It does say 9 on the label, but I'm not
I can
sure
see the back. It's 9%. Yeah.
That is heavy.
So
and I'm not a big heavy beer drinker. I've got a.
And I figured I could just sample a taste and give the rest to my dad, who loves his beers. But I also figured we could do a little tasting session here and all see how we feel about it.
Thanks.
So I'll have one sip and then you guys can have the rest.
Santé.
Proost.
Proost.
Can I just drink straight from the bottle?
Mm-hmm. Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Allowed on the Nerderlingen?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll take the
It's common sense. It's in a glass, isn't it?
Right. Saves on washing up. Because I don't have that dishwasher you have.
Oh, this is actually really good because this probably would give me the schooftering because it tastes like schoof and it drinks like schoof and I love it.
Yeah, well, that would make sense because it's described as a Belgian strong ale.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It's not as I can't describe it. But I don't usually like schoof that much. This is a little bit more amenable. Is that the right word? I like it better than schoof.
Yeah.
What is amenable anyway? Has nothing to do with amenities, right?
No. What you're trying to say there is it's nicer to you.
It's nicer to me.
It's being kind to you.
From what I can remember of schoof, because I can't remember much of schoof.
Ever. No matter how many times you've tried.
Yes. What I do remember of schoof is that it goes down really easy, and this has a little bit more texture, so it's... It has more...
This has got a spiciness to it.
Yeah, but it's
in
not
the finish.
Yeah, and it's not bitter. It's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me almost go back to my drinking days. So that's. I think this is a good beer.
I can't believe you're going to make me drink alcohol-free beer on a camera.
You don't have to.
It would be rude not to.
I actually have this one at home.
And
give
then
you the whole
what-
can. Oh,
you know,
that's
this
fine.
was all in the sake of science to determine how does it.
Yeah, then we should have done a double blind test. but okay.
Yeah.
Apparently
Cheers.
we're not that nerdy.
Well,
Prost.
I've heard from certain directors of beer brands that they don't want to do blind tests.
I can imagine why. This has an interesting smell. It reminds me of urinoirs. Sorry to say.
Could
You
we
haven't
just-
tasted it yet? The urinoirs?
They always leave these candy bars in there. In the urinals.
Okay.
Okay. You know that? No, never mind. It's got far less bubbles than I would have imagined.
But isn't that typical Heineken to not be so koolzuurig?
No, if
But what is
you
koolzuur
if you go to any of the Heineken
Yeah.
experiences or whatever, one of the things
Yeah.
they'll do is pour you a glass and show you the foam on the tops here, another type of foam, and they'll tell you, look at the quality. It's all marketing BS. Look at the quality of the bubbles.
Yeah.
They're all so uniform, and it's just like they're bubbles.
They're bubbles, yeah.
It's foam.
Bubbles, darling. So, yeah, sorry about that. But, yeah.
Wasn't Bubbles the sister of Dexter?
Oh, I thought
it
with
was-
Bubbles about the sketch from Little Britain.
No, Bubbles was the chimpanzee from Michael Jackson.
But there
Oh,
there was a Bubbles
Yeah,
in Dexter.
There was also a Bubbles in the girls, the Powerpuff
No,
Powerpuff
I'm not going to
Girls.
taste it because I had that's I'm not going to no. But
I'll have the regular one.
Can I take another?
oh, sure.
Yeah. And what is your not blind informed opinion on this one?
I gotta say, they're pretty close in flavor.
They really are, because the funny thing is I've not been drinking alcohol for by now almost 2 years, and when they came out, I actually sort of had flashbacks to sitting in the bar with my band where they
Yeah.
only served Heineken, because it actually tastes like...
I would not be confident to say I would figure those two out in a blind test.
This is way more hoppy though.
It
Yeah.
is.
It is.
Usually the malts used to be so incredibly hoppy that they wouldn't taste good.
This
so
is much sweeter. The alcohol free. There is a difference, but
But
it's
I'm not sure I would tell you which is which.
It's not huge though. No, exactly. Yeah, but well, maybe I would perhaps guess
And
that this is a
what does
white
it say?
beer, but you know.
Oh, I thought it said verrassend. Surprising. It says verfrissend.
verfrissend.
It should
Oh,
have said
that's-
verrassend.
Well, on
Yeah.
that note, I'm actually going to be late for my next appointment. Woohoo! Because Christmas madness. So I'm
now
just
we're
gonna
drinking.
cue this one, and then we can just say do we like a
Yeah.
Christmas greeting, happy festive holidays, and thingamabobs to all of ye with different religions and all that stuff.
Of course, this show will air in the new year. So
No,
I
I think we
hope-
should do this around Christmas just because we can.
Yeah, but
Christmas Day.
No, we
'cause
can't.
It's not like you have anything else to
We
do.
can't?
I'll be out of the country.
Oh, he's going to be out of the country.
Technology.
And now we're still talking, so I'll have to start it again. So, guys, this was another Nerderlingen. If you're a Dutchie and you want to hear more about us, because it's usually in Dutch, check us out at Nerderlingen on Twitter. And hello@nerderlingen.nl to email us everything you hate about us, and then we'll kindly respond or not. Haha.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.